I'm Africa Harrigan for Legit TV. Members of the 30th Legislature convened in legislative session to vote on several nominees, lease agreements, zoning requests, and bills. Bill number 30-0202, you're one of the co-primary sponsors for the bill as it relates to providing insurance for autism spectrum disorders. Can you tell us about the amendment?
Well, before I do that, I want to thank my colleagues on the Health Committee because we have been working very hard as a group, starting with Senator Gittins, who's the vice chair, Senator Sanis, Senator Bossinger, Senator Chucky Hansen, Senator Roach, and Senator Nelson. We have moved a lot of serious bills in the last 2 months because we recognize that the community is in dire need of major legislation, and it was time for us to show that we can really work together. The autism bill is going to create a funding so that we can improve the service and increase the providers to come into the territory now and bill for services to provide health, this very important service and intervention for our children who have this disorder. Also, I was able to move an amendment to include the hearing impaired. Once we recognized that that population was being underserved, we made sure it was clear, because what happens is if you do not address your hearing issues early in life at age 1, 2, and 3, learning becomes impossible or twice as expensive. To educate a hearing impaired child, it costs about $400,000 a year. So we are looking at saving astronomical amount of dollars once we are able to make insurance companies pay and compensate and pay for the treatment of those vulnerable individuals in our community.
How do you think the meeting is going so far?
I think it's going pretty good, despite some of the little delays we had, technical issues. You know, we have a problem with our computer systems, our network systems, making it difficult for legal counsel to get bills, drafted and out to the floor in a timely manner. So that's why we had a few delays. Other than that, the substance of the session is very important to the people. We have the one big one that's going to be talked about a lot is the money for those government employees who have retired and have not been able to get their pensions because of matching funds by the departments, and those that are waiting to retire but can because the departments don't have the funding to match what was put in on their half at the retirement system. So this is a big deal for us, and a number of rezonings. Despite the economic downturn, you still see a lot of people who are getting rezonings to construct. Not just talking about a plan to construct. You know, during the hearings we discussed, do you have the money to build? Is the financing available? And the answers are yes. So in more cases than not, most of these rezonings are going to result in construction within 12 months. And that's pretty good news for the territory. It's a good sign that things are improving slightly. And some other health-related matters, you know, we've addressed, which I'd love to discuss: persons with disabilities, continuing to look out for this segment of our population, and to protecting our children. You know, with the electronic cigarettes that's becoming quite a craze around here. And a number of other measures that I know everybody's going to be proud of the legislature, working in harmony, right, to focus on the needs of the people of this territory. But on May 8th and 9th is another session. Right after Carnival, we get right into some other issues relating to the deficit, trying to close that gap and provide some revenue-generating measures to have some new revenues to support the financial needs of the territory, and the government in particular, our services and roads. I forgot to mention, by the way, the bill 30-0336, not only has the money for the retirees or those who want to retire, but also money for road repairs, which is pretty big. And everybody knows next to WAPA, roads are like the next big issue. So
you have 3 bills on the agenda, one that's relating to disabilities, one that's relating to pharmacists, and one that's relating to e-cigarettes. Can you give us more detail about that?
Yes, sure. The first one, the dealing with disabilities, is actually rectifying some of the language that's in the V.I. code. It is actually putting the phrase "a person with disabilities," not the disability part first. And this is all about recognizing that people with disabilities are also part of our society. They are integrated into our society, they're part of our society, and we should give them that respect. The other one, dealing with vaccine, is given the authority, given the powers to pharmacists to not only give vaccines, but also to give what you call wellness tests. In other words, people can go into a pharmacy and get their blood glucose testing done, which is very important. So I am extremely glad that this measure has passed, because we're going to be helping a lot of individuals who just cannot afford to go to the doctor for these type of care. The last but not least is the ban on the sale of e-cigarettes to minors. I think this is very important, because a lot of these products that are not federally tested. We don't know what some of the ingredients in these e-cigarettes are. So that's one way of protecting our minors. And hopefully we'll be able to do more in terms of taxing e-cigarettes here in the Virgin Islands. So overall, I'm extremely proud, because these bills were vetted in the Committee of Health. It was discussed at length, and now, hopefully, in a few days, when the governor signed them, it will become law.
And I want to commend my colleagues, all of them, especially my Vice President, Senator Sanders, who has been pinch hitting for me when my crazy schedule doesn't allow me to be at every meeting, to keep things moving for me. And the cooperation we're getting from all the senators is resulting in production, good results for the people of the Virgin Islands.
All bills, zoning requests, nominations, and lease agreements were approved today. You can follow the happenings of the legislature and like us on Facebook at 30th Legislature. Subscribe to us on YouTube at LegVI1 and follow us on Twitter at LegislatureVI. Thank you for tuning in to Legit's coverage of this legislative session. I'm Africa Harrigan for Legit TV.